Hello and welcome back to another episode of Boys Love I Told Sunset. Nope. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Love in the Big City. We are here to talk about episode 2 this week. How are we feeling? Good. We're feeling good. We're feeling gorgeous. Great.
Before this episode, I had just seen like tweets that were like, me after episode 2, and people were like sobbing. So I was like, something is...
Because initially the show...
Something's gonna awry.
Initially the show was slated to release in 2 episode installments a week. Mm-hmm. And then I think with the pushback, they were just like, let's not drag out 4 weeks of nonsense. So we'll just binge it. Yeah. And I think a lot of people like to binge stuff, blah, blah, blah. I'm not one of those people.
I'm not.
The last show I binged was the final season of The Crown. I've truly only binged like in that specific way of like watching everything in like a day or a couple or like a weekend. I've only done that a couple times.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think Stranger Things season 2.
Oh yeah.
Specifically season 2.
Yeah.
Because I enjoyed season 1 so much. And then like I don't know, all the seasons of The Crown.
Yeah.
Besides
every
the first
time
one.
It came out, you binged it.
Yeah. We're going to have a quick discussion about the TV landscape. That we live in a time where we have seen the rise and fall of the binge.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, Netflix still does binges, but even with us recapping The Boyfriend, they didn't release the whole Boyfriend at once.
Like
they
did
3
episodes.
Three installments. It's very hard for like networks or streaming services or whatever to maintain like enough content that you can keep up with a binge pace.
Exactly.
Because like Disney Plus has never tried to do bingeable content.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them are moving away from that ideal model is what they thought. There are some shows that I think are better in a binged format. Getting your show out there, I do think it's better to not binge it because you have that quick, everybody talks about it,
out,
but kind of like already loving the Big City is like not even on the discussion table
after
anymore.
1 week.
Right. Where everyone's watched it, then there's like no one wants to talk about it anymore. Whereas like Agatha keeps getting talked about because it's releasing week by week and people are clamoring for more.
And obviously that's not Love in the Big City's like fault. They felt pressured to do that from all of the...
There's outside circumstances for sure. Yeah. So. That's not a criticism necessarily. That's just like...
it's just interesting.
Because I think that seems to be the general consensus of what happened to Blooming. Why Blooming kind of like didn't have the impact that I think a show as well done as that show is like had or should have had in the
because like shows I think with BLs, even though I think sometimes people who watch BL fans wish that they could binge, but then when shows are binge, like I wish we could, you know what I mean? Like it's always you're wishing for the other.
The grass is constantly greener on the other side.
Totally. Because I feel like Love for Love's Sake was like really good, and I think by doing the weekly drops or like 2 episodes a week, it helped that show a lot. I think way more than if it was binged. Genuinely.
I also don't even like because I think this show is supposed to be 2 episodes a week too, and I think like these episodes are so long. I think they could have done 8 weeks of it.
Yeah.
I understand the shorter shows where it's like the 20-minute episodes. Right. Sure, you release those in 2 installments at a time. And I think a lot of times narratively, they'll package them almost as if like the cliffhanger ends at the end of the second episode each week.
Yeah.
Which I think is smart. But last week, the cliffhanger was at the end of the first episode with the pregnancy reveal.
And so that's where we start today.
So that's where we start, girls. She's pregnant. Mie is pregnant.
With child.
She's with child. And she's knocked at the innkeeper's door.
Yes.
And the innkeeper said,
there's no room in there.
Hail Mary, what's up?
The DJ or the tattooist.
Yeah. Both options fine as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like good options both.
And then we get into this like what I did not expect from the show.
Yeah.
Again, have not read the novel.
Right.
Was that
I just got it today.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Was that the UPS package?
Love in the Big City by Sang-Yong Park. There you go, page 25. The doctor, in a loud and angry voice, lectured her for about another few minutes on the baseness of the internet and the ignorance of the masses. We're pulling an ultrasound scan and waiting.
Wow. Look at you. You opened right to the page.
Right, exactly.
So I was not expecting this. Just from the show in general.
Yeah.
But I had no expectations. So
I also candidly did not know that abortion was what's abortion access in South Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it is legal, but it's recent. Like I think it was like 2019 or something, or 2021 even, something like that. So she goes. Go-young says he's gonna pay for her clinic visit. They go to the clinic. The doctor, as we just read in the book, he lectures her. She
steals a uterus model and runs away.
Okay, can I ask a question?
This was when Adam was like, this is an absurdist play.
This is when I realized that this show is like taking, in order to balance the deep sadness parts that come, it has to be like almost goofy.
Yeah.
And so this sequence, while like I can envision it happening, is so goofy.
Yeah.
And it is like we're talking about a very serious subject
decision
matter.
that women have to make.
Of course.
Yeah.
But we are treating it, and I don't want to say with levity, right? There is a seriousness like what her decision is. And it really goes into serious as soon as she gets the procedure done. But then there's something about it too that like it's like taking like a spoonful of sugar with your medicine.
And also knowing her and like the character that we've seen, it's like there's no other way to get through this other than to be crazy about it, you know?
Yeah.
But it felt like it felt like they were two cartoon characters in like a real life clinic.
Yes. Can I also
They just didn't fit. It was so funny.
Why sir, you provide these services ostensibly?
Just misogyny in...
No, I know. I don't think maybe being an OB is for you.
Yeah.
If you're going to be like lecturing looking down on one of the medical, you know what I mean?
Procedures that you can do safely, but then you would like lecture. It's...
Right.
It's
healthcare.
Yeah.
It's healthcare.
It's healthcare.
Okay, and that's enough of us on our little box.
But the nurse
chases after
her to get the little uterus model back.
It's so funny.
But like that's the thing. It's like you took this away from me, that I came here to like want to do this procedure safely, and I trust you, and you took it away from me. So I'm gonna steal this.
It's so good. It's so funny.
I really like Mie. This episode, I mean, she has to shine in this episode to really make Go-young think about like, oh shit. And I didn't realize that it was gonna be about like tackling loneliness, like his loneliness.
Yeah.
I was really shocked.
Yeah.
Oh, episode 2.
So she gets the procedure. The nurse is like, "Here's where you can get it done.
I'm getting a cut. Tell her to get my name so I can get."
She asks for a referral fee. It's so funny.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Funny.
Yeah,
and the jokes are not like crass jokes about abortion or the procedure itself. Like
it's just the situation around it.
It's not blue comedy in that way.
Yes.
It's just like the situation around it is so goofy.
Yeah.
It's a really hard needle to thread, to be honest, to be able to make jokes about something that a lot of people feel very strongly about,
and like
one way or the other.
Scary, yeah. It almost like I could have watched that play out on stage. Do you know what I mean? Because it felt so like Lazzi. It felt comedian.
I mean, this is like a show. This is a show that I almost like am sad. It's not. I can't watch it with other people. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a show that I think would really benefit
sit people
with
down
like
and watch it.
Sit in like a theater and watch this with people. Like even if it was like a movie cut. I mean, it's hard to do that, right? Because like, what do you cut?
Right.
A lot of I feel like what would end up being cut are the funny bits.
The funny parts,
like unfortunately, but it's just like there's something so like I think because of the show is about like their camaraderie, like. I'm like longing for that feeling of like watching this with other people. I mean, like we watch it with you, but
that's
I watch everything with RJ. So
what don't I watch with you?
So she has the procedure. She goes into a 2-week depression.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like, I was almost glad that they like
they acknowledged it and added it.
Right.
And it doesn't even, it didn't feel like.
But again, it's not a moral, like,
No.
it's not morally looking down on her for making this decision, but it is like, there's a heft to the choice that you make.
Yes. It reminded me of the episode of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend when Paula gets an abortion, remember? And like she's, and the whole episode is about her like, I'm finally like gonna be a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I'm about to take this, and it's going so well. And she takes she has the procedure, and it's just like this caring scene of like.
I totally forgot about this.
Yeah, this caring scene of Rachel Bloom's scare. I can't remember. Rebecca
Bunch.
Rebecca just taking care of her after it, and it's just like And I'm glad that they included it, but I'm also glad that they didn't kind of linger on it in the episode, because I think it helps kind of prove the point that like this is healthcare. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like this is a procedure. We shouldn't stigmatize it, but it's still a big decision. Like
of course.
It's juggling how heavy it is, but also this can be normal. You know, this can be standard.
And I think like too, like even in their conversation when she realizes like everything, like there is a little bit of lighthearted, like you didn't have them wear condoms. There's like really funny bit about her like not knowing who the dad is and like being like, well, one's a really good, like the DJ is really good at sex and the other one's really hot.
Is hot. Yeah.
So, and that's like really funny, but I think in a less thoughtful hand, that could be it. The whole thing could be read as like, this is her punishment.
Yes.
But it really does not feel like the show thinks that, the writer thinks that, like, it's just the circumstance that she has ended up in, and like this is the choice she makes in that circumstance. But I can also see a version of this character that would be like, okay, I'm gonna do it, because she basically, this kind of sets her on this path in the episode itself to be like, I think I have to become an adult.
Yes, it's like I think I have to grow up.
Because really, what the show is about is like, yes, the loneliness of it all, but it is like, it's when do you start deciding like, oh, I actually don't, because like, I think that episode 1 really sets up like being in your early 20s, being independent, and being like, I actually do kind of have the world figured out.
Yeah.
And then as you get a little bit older, you're like, oh, it's actually really scary that I don't have everything figured out. And like, that's like the kind of, when people talk about the quarter life crisis, which I don't think people really talk about as much as they did like 10 years ago, but I think that's
when we went through the quarter life crisis, everyone was going through it.
I think like, that's really what people are like referring to, is that kind of like, not the exit, because like the midlife crisis is the existential dread of like, oh, I'm gonna die.
I'm actually dying.
I don't think the 20s is that, but I think the 20s is like,
I have the rest of my life to go through, and I feel like I haven't learned anything.
Yes,
I don't
that
know
was
anything.
what was so scary about being like 22 and being like, wait, where's the manual?
Where's the manual? What do you mean I have to put 0 instead of 1 on my W-9, and now I have to pay like $3,000 in taxes? People don't teach you that.
Girls.
And you just go through it.
You just go through it. And then they're like, yeah, well, you owe it.
Well, you owe it.
But I don't get can
I do this again? Because it's not true. And they're like, no,
that's what you owe.
So here's the payment plan, Diva.
Here's the payment plan from Miss IRS. The other countries, by the way, are totally lost, because America's like one of the only countries where we have to tell the IRS what they owe, and then the IRS is like, correct.
Yes.
It's most countries, they're like, here's your bill. Here they're like, figure it out first.
And then
you figure it out, and then we'll tell you if you're right. And if you're wrong, you are going to Jesus. So anyway, get me out of here.
But I do like that there was this one scene where she's just like staring out in her balcony, just like looking sad. And they did her depression, like depressive state, these 2 weeks, still very true to her, and like true to what Go-young was seeing from her. It's like she wasn't herself, but then after 2 weeks, she was a little bit better. But you could see, there was that scene where he just catches her just staring into the sky at night. And it's that feeling of, I could never imagine it, obviously.
No,
but it
the only people who know what it feels like are people who have gone through it. And I think like
they should be the one. Yep. So
they're
like, bitch.
2 weeks are over. She's back to normal,
Yes.
quote unquote.
And she's like,
he's making food.
Yeah.
They're making like ramen.
Yes.
And then she's
like, we should drink. We should get soju.
Mm-hmm. Even though she had earlier in the episode been like, I'm done drinking.
I'm going down from 8 days a week to 3 days a week.
Oh my God, so good.
Funny.
So he's like, I'm gonna go get it because
watch the noodles.
You're still like recovering or whatever.
Right.
He goes outside. Namgyu is waiting
out on the street with home cooked food.
Home cooked wild crab,
my
marinated
God.
wild crab. I know it's good.
I know, Adam. Remember when we went, and my mom and my aunt went to the fish market, and it was like the marinated crab, the gejang, the marinated shrimps. They were all like basically like raw and fermented, and you squeeze it on the rice. It's so good. So you know that shit is good.
You know it's good. And Namgyu made it with love.
Yeah. And what does Goyoung do?
Rejects him again.
Rejects it. And he's like, no, I don't want. Why are you doing all that? We didn't mean it. Didn't mean anything. And he has been drinking. Namgyu. So he's drunk. And he is just wailing out in the street. Yeah. Like, is it basically like a sin to love? Like,
Mie comes out, takes him away, but it really is this
sweet.
I think the show is doing a very good job of being like, Goyoung is not a perfect character, right? Like he has but I think this will set up what happens in this episode so well. Because I think like this is again what I'm talking about, this like early 20s. You go through your life and you're like,
I've got to figure it out.
And also like truly the concept of death, unless somebody has very close to you has died.
It's so far away.
It's so
you feel
foreign.
like you are going to live forever.
Yes.
Yeah. Genuinely.
So this all, and I'm not saying like he's gonna turn around at the end of the episode and he's gonna like I think there's still growth to do.
Oh
right?
yeah,
obviously.
he's not. But it's like the first major step. But it's so sweet to that Mie is like, well, don't take it out on the damn crabs. So he's like, come on, let's take you. And she kind of takes care of Namgyu, and Namgyu like kind of just really wails in.
He like you could crumples to the ground. Yeah. It's like a really good, they're threading the needle of like, this is really sad to watch because like Namgyu has been a character that's been really sweet so far.
Sweet and good to him.
But also like it's really funny to watch this like drunk man be like, ah! like screaming out on the street. There's like, it's just there.
And he's even said it like, I hate myself. I can't even look at myself because I don't recognize myself. And Goyoung is just like,
and he's like, you have 2 eyes, you got 2 ears, you got a nose. Like, he's such a little bitch. He's such a bitch. I liked this line. I wrote this down specifically. He's doing a little voiceover in the next part, and he says, "We learned a lot about each other, Mie and Goyoung." And he's like, she learned that being gay sucks, and I learned that being a woman sucks equally," which I think is so funny.
Because equally?
No, not equally. But I think there is like a plight.
Right.
Here we go with queer theory with Adam. I think, first of all, women are like have a higher EQ.
Right.
So they are like more understanding of like emotions and empathy. And so I think that's why there's an easier access to understanding like what like gay people go through.
Yeah.
The gay community, the queer community. You know what I mean?
I also think too, like there's a thing that gay men are basically like men who experience misogyny. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
because it's they experience what it means to like be prejudiced for being more feminine. And that I think like that's when like a man realizes that like, oh shit, women have it hard. Obviously not the same, but it is it's like a hatred on like feminine qualities and stuff.
I don't want anyone to drop in the comments gay men can be misogynistic. Girl, don't tell me like I don't know. I mean, obviously like the pyramid doesn't, it becomes like it goes from a triangle to a full 3D
To, like, a full
pyramid in
cone,
like
yeah. You're like,
America, or specifically because we have like more races,
yes.
like there's a lot of other like
multiracial.
the intersections.
Yes, bitch.
We're on a
What's her name? What's intersectionality?
oh, bell hooks.
Was it bell hooks?
No, I don't think it was
No, I
bell
don't think
hooks.
it's bell
It's
coined by Kimberly Crenshaw. Kimberly Williams Crenshaw in 1989,
Yes.
American civil rights advocate.
Dear Mrs. Crenshaw. Sorry.
That would be a cute children's book instead of Dear
wait a
Mr.
minute.
Henshaw.
No, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Don't take the idea.
Don't take the idea. And it's like a
Not most of them do not know who Kimberly Crenshaw is. I think we're fine. I think they're like, can we get back to the show?
Can we get to the show, please?
Mia gets a new job.
She basically works. It's like it feels tech. It feels like Google. It's how they. So it'll probably name her.
Yeah, because she goes for like training somewhere else.
A workshop for like 2 weeks or something.
She's gone for a while.
Yeah.
She comes back with a man.
Yeah.
Which slay.
Yeah.
And then, so now we head into this period of the episode where it's like, I don't see her anymore because she's always with her boyfriend.
I'm eating blueberries alone in the apartment, waiting for her.
He does finally meet the boyfriend. They go out to dinner together. And this
scene is brilliant.
It is the best scene in the show.
It's the best scene so far. It's been
so
2 episodes. It gives me like classic, like When Harry Met Sally. Like it kind of gives me that energy.
It gives me When Harry Met Sally. It gives me like really standard like multicam sitcom of like characters not seeing other characters make eyes at the like just like people being like really overdoing it. Yeah, it's just so good.
When he's like, yeah, I heard you guys went to university together, blah blah blah, and like, what was she like? And Go-young was like, oh yeah, like he beat up 2 guys at the same time, and she was like, stop, he's gonna believe that.
She like hits him. It's so good.
It's so good. She is so funny.
Even when like they're talking, he like arrives. He meets Juno.
Juno
is his name. He meets him. They're like standing off to the side. She's sitting at the table, and they're like talking about like, oh yeah, I did like athletics. And he was like, oh, I didn't do athletics, but I'm just like tall or whatever.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, well, come sit down. Like it's just the whole thing is.
It's like, don't be
perfect.
Weird.
It's so good. So it's serious.
It's
with
serious.
Mr. Man.
Yeah. When Go-young first asks about him, it's like he's asking the questions as if it was just another guy when they were just like when they were kiki kaka.
Yeah. And
she was like, he's fine. He's average. We haven't had sex yet. I don't know. Yeah. He's really nice. Like that's it.
It is fascinating that this like like I think she gets the job, right? And I do think there is like a bit of like, let's put our big girl pants on now.
Yes.
But I think it is partially born out of the abortion. Like I think there is something that I don't want to say like she's like I need to reevaluate like my life and I was making poor decisions, but it's more like I can't put myself through this again.
Yes. Yeah.
Is
that's
what
true.
Is how it read to me more like she's never at home, he's always eating alone. Him being Go-young.
Juno picks her up one evening after work.
Very tense.
Very tense. And he's like, I was talking to Diva Girl who you went to school with.
Yeah.
And she said that you're in a long-term relationship with someone. And you
live with him.
It was Go-young, wasn't it? And she like is torn, right? Because she doesn't want to out him. But also
I like too that this scene, like he's like, your roommate isn't real, right? It's actually Go-young. And I liked that there wasn't even the setup. Like they didn't have a line earlier.
This is the plan.
Like, yeah.
She just went with a lie that
you just know immediately like, oh, that's what she told him.
She told him that she said that she had a female roommate.
Yep.
It's not true. It has been Go-young.
And again, the way the show does comedy really well, even in these moments where it's like a little harder.
Yeah.
He's like, then call her on the phone. She's like, she's went to Thailand to get
for a massage. To get a massage. She's in Thailand right now to get a massage.
It's not even played as a laugh. Like it's not played as a comedy line at all, but it's so funny.
She's in Thailand to get a massage. And he literally is like, stop lying.
It's so good. So he like, she confirms that it's Goyoung, and then she's like, and now obviously like, you live with a guy.
Yes.
Are you two-timing? Like, what is this?
Yes,
right?
yeah.
He would obviously think the worst possible option, and she finally outs Goyoung to him, which was the initial agreement that she would never say anything.
She goes to see him, Goyoung, because they were supposed to have dinner.
Mm-hmm. No, she comes home early.
She comes home early. They were supposed to have dinner.
I thought he broke up with her.
Because they don't
finish the scene.
Yeah.
She just says he's gay.
And then then
she comes home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it's to show that like it's not like it doesn't matter. You know, it's the full act of like you outed me.
Right. And also like the fact like overall the show is not about like her relationships with these guys or his relationships with like it is a little bit more about his relationships with these guys, right? It's like hidden from his perspective, but like the show is about the two of them and what's going on in their lives together.
And she says he found out, and so I had to say that we live together and that you're gay, so that he would know the truth.
Yeah.
And he gets mad.
Yep.
And basically says like, you've basically told the world because you told this person that I don't really know. Mm-hmm. And they get in a fight. They get in a fight because he's basically accusing her of like obviously breaking this promise. Mm-hmm. But then she gets mad at him for basically shutting himself in.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
She calls him a loner.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And basically it's like, why are you even fucking waiting for me? Go out, like...
Yeah. I think what's fascinating about this show so far is that, like, these characters are so well-rounded. They are flawed.
Yeah.
That, like, they're both right and wrong.
And wrong, I know.
Because
they're
like,
not carrying their flaws around.
I, of course, was, like, frustrated for him. And the best part is, like, in his voiceover later, he's like, I knew I was wrong.
Yeah.
Like, this is the best part. This is, like,
exactly.
Thank you for this voiceover.
Yeah.
But, like, he's like, you basically outed me to the world. And he's being really hyperbolic. She told her boyfriend, who's not going to say anything.
Right.
It's not interesting, right? Like,
right. It doesn't.
But you also understand why he would be so upset about it.
Yeah.
You also understand why she would be like, we should have thought about this before. We shouldn't have. Why would we ever have told people I lived with a girl? It was going to be found out. Like, this is the worst idea in the world.
You have to come out, girl.
Right. Yeah.
But it's not even. But he is out.
Right.
That's the thing. He is out. Like, he is living a gay life.
That's the thing is like the other thing that I liked is in the voiceover, he's like, I couldn't be too mad at her because I was the one out publicly kissing guys on the street. And it's like, diva. This show is so good. I love it. So I do say, I mean, like she of course ends the argument with like the meanest possible thing she can throw back at him, and he moves out. Goyoung moves out. We see like a kind of like this. It's not a montage, but like
he's drinking
like
a lot.
Drunk.
He's just out of the bars.
He's on the street. He called Namgyu to pick him up.
He's the only person he could call.
Which we know isn't true because maybe he's the only one with a car.
Right. That could help him.
Yeah, because his friends probably don't have cars.
Yeah, and two of his friends are out in the military.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So Namgyu comes to pick him up. They're driving in the car. There's a moment where he's like, you're speeding.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing in the last episode where he was like, he drives at just the maximum speed limit. He's like, this is the safest the car can drive. So he's speeding now. He's also like not really looking at the road. Like there's this moment where he's like, can you watch the road, please?
Right. He has made subtle changes to his life that makes it look like maybe he has loosened up, but at the same time still feels like obviously mature and has taken what has happened and maybe have like learned
this is
from
the
it.
thing that I think is really interesting because we don't go spend time with Namgyu and figure out like what his life story is. We just see him again, but he's clearly, he would see him.
He's clearly different, right?
Correct. I liked that it was like you can either interpret it as
I know, me too.
He subconsciously changed, like, due to Go-young's influence.
Right.
Or he made conscious decisions to change in the hopes that one day it might reattract Go-young and like fix, because that's what you said, the subconscious thing that was like, he rubbed off on him.
He rubbed off to try and move on.
I took it as he started trying to change things because like those were the things that upset like he specifically did it, not like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't want to. I'm not trying to make like Go-young the villain of the show. But I mean,
that's how relationships affect one another.
Yeah,
because I think like when a bad relationship when a relationship ends and you want to like compartmentalize it and be like, that was a bad relationship, I want to move on from it. Like at the end of the day, that's still that was still time that happened, and you changed either consciously or subconsciously. Like you're a different person because of what you experience in life.
Yeah.
And I really like that it was like vague, but it's clear enough to know that like he's stable enough to answer his call, right?
Yeah.
Like to take care of him at least in this moment. They go to Seoul Tower.
But I also think there's something to me that there's something to me that's very queer coded about that moment of like calling an ex, having them pick you up. Like there's something about that specifically that is like,
we still have to watch out for each other. The
community comes first.
Yes, we still have to take care of each other.
Even if it's not as overt as all that, like I think there's just something about it. So they go back to Seoul Tower.
The lock's faded off.
The lock is faded. And like Namgyu feels like he's like, I don't know, happier.
It feels I read it as like he's just kind of reminiscing. I think because of this, I was in the more subconscious route.
Yeah.
That he was like, wow, wasn't that crazy how our romance was so crazy and quick?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I bet that crazy lock is still over there. Let's look at it.
Yeah.
But you could look at it, and because of his acting, like his performance, it looks like, oh, maybe he's
hopeful. I don't know if I thought he was hopeful, but I think like
it felt more like he was reminiscing, and
it felt like he was reminiscing for sure. I think like I took it as like he was like just happy that Go-young was like back in his life to some extent.
Right.
And Go-young like sees him look at the like laughing about the lock. He under his breath like calls him a fool. And then I was like, oh, Go-young, Please don't do this again. Yeah. And he doesn't. He apologizes.
Yeah.
And he still lets him down, but it is the rejection that should have happened the first time, which is like, I am not enough. I can't be enough for you.
Yeah.
Because I think he's like thought a lot about it, obviously. Yeah. And I think he's like, I can't love in the same capacity you do. That's not where I'm at yet.
Yeah.
And I hope you find that because you deserve it.
You deserve the love that you're giving, basically.
An incredible moment. Know. He hugs Namgyu. Namgyu like cries.
Yeah.
And then that's like the end of the scene. And then I was like, that they're never gonna see each other again. That's truly the breakup.
Yeah.
That's the closure that needed to happen.
Yeah, I mean, like there's always obviously breakups happen. But yeah, the closure always happens later. Mm-hmm. When you actually realize and accept.
Realize.
In last week's recap, we said, I wonder if we see Namgyu again. Hopefully we see him again. That'd be crazy if it ends.
So
if we get another episode. So
we 10 months goes by. He's written a book. He's written a novel called Blueberries and Cigarettes. And it's about, and blueberries is referring to like while he was like lonely without Mie, he was like eating blueberries and it was staining his fingers. I think the brilliance is like the cigarette was the first episode. She smelled his fingers. She smells her
fingers, yeah.
So it's like about the tangible things, like what the people leave behind.
Yes. And the remnants
still cling to.
Yeah.
So
he's like won an award.
He's won an award. He's an award-winning author.
Yeah.
Chakanim,
honey.
He calls Mie. She like cries on the phone when she hears, but she like doesn't let on that she's crying. It's very sweet. But it like the lovely part of their friendship is it feels like they both know they messed up.
Yes.
They both maybe haven't been strong enough to call each other up until this point. But then this time, it's like, okay, we're done.
Good.
We're going
better.
back.
Yeah. And like no time has passed. They are right back on rhythm.
Yeah.
She says, I have some news. And Adam and I both went, she's getting married. And she says, I'm getting married.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course she is. To Juno.
Sure. To Juno.
So she asked him to sing at the wedding. So this is like apparently, I'm assuming, a Korean wedding thing. So like the groom side has like an official person, like a speech, something like that. And so she and the bride side gets to pick someone to sing.
Yeah.
So she picks Goyoung to sing, and Goyoung is like, no, I can't sing. I'm tone deaf. And she's like, you'll just have to do your best. Yeah. So he ends the phone call. He looks it down at his phone again. And there's like this shot of like the zoom, this push in to him like looking at his phone horrified. And I was like, oh God. We cut to a shot of the fucking bouquets that we're all familiar with.
Yep.
You realize that someone died. Who did you think died?
I thought it was a family member. I thought it was
like his mom or somebody. Yeah. Even though we have not talked about
his mom, but the only thing I know is that he was living with her.
Right.
He bows to pay his respects, and it's a picture of Namgyu. And you like lost it. You were like out. And the way Namgyu, I mean, Goyoung is like full deep reverence bow, like full bow on the floor. And it's just so sad. There's not a lot of people there, which makes me think like
he didn't have friends.
He didn't have friends.
But I also don't know how long
it takes. Yes, it's long. Like it has.
I think it can come. They can come over a few hours.
He came like at night too.
Yeah.
But there's not enough people there, and he didn't know anyone in his life that he really couldn't ask or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he just basically asks the man running the funeral service, like, how did he die? And he said it was a car accident from speeding.
And I think what I like most about this, first of all, nothing, to be clear.
Yes, I like nothing about what's happening.
He sits down. It seems like there's like a luncheon thing.
Yes, there's always food.
There's always food. So he's like eating his food, but they shoot him from behind.
Yeah.
And you don't know if he's crying. Like, I don't think he cries.
No.
But it's just this like solitary, heavy. He's wearing this leather jacket. Like he's like, there's like, you know that he is maybe not racked with guilt, right? He shouldn't necessarily feel guilty.
Yeah.
Right? But more that like he didn't appreciate maybe what he had while he had it.
Yeah.
In the way he should have.
And the thing too of his influence that we just talked about in the Seoul Tower scene, like if I never influenced him, he would still be alive. He wouldn't have changed. He wouldn't have thought that he was wrong because he never would have had me to tell him that.
And he has this speech.
Oh my God. It like
that he gives. Heart. I want to say this too. Let's like peel back and go meta for a second.
Yeah.
He gives this entire speech direct to camera.
Yeah.
Which is actually very hard to set that up where it doesn't feel like, oh, they're doing direct address to the audience. It's actually, I feel like it's really hard to nail. He's just talking and that's where his line of vision is. Yeah. And I'm not supposed to read it as he's
talking
me.
To the audience. Yeah.
It's like really impressive. He's framed beautifully. The lighting's, I mean, like it's a gorgeous shot.
Yes, of just him in bed, just talking
about like,
he always thought that he was that Namgyu was always too slow for him, but he realized that he was too slow for like Namgyu, basically.
Yeah, he was not. He wasn't fast enough to love him.
Love him, or like not fast enough to mature enough to be able to accept it.
Yeah, and then he like says like, I never thought I would get married or like have like a really long like
it becomes this thing of like it wasn't even a thing. We just assume that if you're gay that you don't have, you're not able to have that.
Right.
And
you don't see
it
any long lasting gay relationships ever. So you're like, oh, we just fuck, I guess.
So I've always just told myself that that's something that's not possible for me. But now I'm realizing that it was.
Yep.
It was so close, and I just chose not to see it.
It's
so
incredibly profound. I don't even really want to talk about it because I'll start crying.
I know.
It's the wedding day. He goes to the wedding. He goes to sing at the wedding. He's really bad. This is like a quick. It's like perfect for their friendship.
Yes,
and it's a great way to end this episode.
Because she joins him, and they're both kind of just like singing, and it's nice that they kind of like show Juno.
Yes.
Right? In like he's just like accepting their friendship.
Yes.
Not in like
there's no
weirdness.
Right.
He's just like it's almost like it's very grateful, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like thank you for being this person for the person that I love.
Mm-hmm. Which is what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you feel a connection to that because you and your best friend?
Because I should have married Miranda?
Yeah.
Or I was Go-young at Jason Miranda's wedding.
Yes, because you were Go-young.
Yeah. MVP, I'll let you go first since I took last week.
It's Namgyu.
It's Namgyu? Okay, good.
It's so sad to think about it. I think also because like he's probably like that character's probably like our age, right?
Yeah.
And so just that feeling of, I think there's sometimes a pressure when you are like our age or at least older a little bit that like, or even just like if you feel like you're not the correct or the correct type, right? Like he's not outgoing, he's not partying, blah, blah, blah. And so you think that that's like something is wrong with you.
Yeah.
But it's truly not. It's just people are different. Mm-hmm. And he was hurt so bad that he was able to at least come. It was so interesting to see how he became a better person for himself in just one scene.
Yeah.
And then it was too late. And it was just like, that is so, it feels almost not real, right? Like it.
But it's also like the thing I love about that character that we only got to spend 2 episodes with is like he like loved Go-young.
Yeah.
And so there is like, I'm just glad he got to love someone in his life. Like I think there's like that to it that's like really incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
I love this performance. Like this is such a great performance. Yeah.
And I always love when we get a BL actor that gets another shot. Do you know what I mean? Like we get to see them in another thing.
Yeah, and this is like an actor. Like
and
this
he's acting.
Because like a lot of times in BLs, you go
from one trope to another.
You're just playing the like moments basically.
Right, exactly.
Whereas this is like, I don't know, this is a real character study.
Yeah.
Even for like 6 scenes.
Yeah.
Really, honestly,
to be able to track an entire person.
Yes.
In just moments.
Yes. Yeah. So I never know in film, is it a lighting designer? Is that what they call it? I don't think it's lighting design. I don't know what they're called, but I want to shout this moment out.
Let me look it up.
I want to shout this moment out. The apartment that they live in together, Mia and Go-young. I don't know if you noticed this. They never have overhead lighting on. They always have like lamps on.
It's a gay apartment. It's a gay house.
They always have lamps on. It's always warm lighting. Their apartment always looks cozy. It's tight, but it's cozy. The scene when she tells him that she outed him and
Gaffer.
They get in the fight. Oh, it's Gaffer. Right. I did know that. The Gaffer. So the scene where she tells him that she outed him and they get in the fight.
It's
stark overhead lighting.
Know. Fluorescents.
As soon as the scene started, I was
because
like,
she comes home and he has all the lights on.
He has all the lights on.
All the overheads.
And I was like,
Ooh, I
something's
just
gonna
gotta
happen
chill.
because obviously you can tell something's gonna happen from the way
she yes.
like I knew
We
something
knew
was
what was coming.
but like visually I was like, oh, this won't go well
Yes.
because they specifically made the choice to be like, it's cold, it's very cold. I was so
and it like transformed that space. It felt like
they both looked horrendous.
I know.
This is why overhead lighting is terrible. But like it's that also that super cold, like I'm sorry, let's say it. The Asian like almost like hospital lighting.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like the like
Adam could
stark white.
literally
Ugh.
everywhere in the Philippines. Adam was like, oh my God.
It was horrible.
I think because my brother-in-law, he's an architect and he likes to put indirect lighting. Like he'll like put lights like
behind
like on
the thing,
behind
and
a
then
shelf
and then
it bounces.
Yeah.
But when my mom's in town, I can't see a damn thing. Turn on
Yeah.
all these lights.
They've been to our apartment.
And
it's just lamps.
It's lamps everywhere.
We have overhead lighting, and we use it like
when we need to clean.
when we have to clean. That's like it. Anyway, I just was like, I was like, what a lovely, or
Just
not
touch.
lovely, but like it's a really thoughtful. Yeah, thoughtful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you should be a gaffer, Adam.
I think we've sailed the boat on that. I think it's too late.
It's never too late, Adam.
I think it's too late to be a gaffer.
You can easily. You know what? When we film the BL, I'll make you do the lighting.
Oh, great. I won't pay you, but I'll make
I
you
won't
do
pay
it.
you, but you know what? Experience. You're getting. It's to be able to
It's
have
good to get paid
hands-on
in
experience.
Yeah, it's experiential.
Yeah.
Experiential.
Yeah. Well, we continue to eat it up.
It's so good.
I'm excited. You were like, it's not really a coming of age story. I think it's going to end up being a coming of age story.
We thought about doing this as like 1, 2 episode, 3, 4 episode recap, 5, 6 episode recap. We talked about that.
Yeah,
and
we're
then
going
I
to do
was
4
like,
weeks. Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I think like the episodes are long enough. And we'll have enough to talk about.
Right.
I'm so glad we did
We did not do 2 episodes.
2
in
episodes
one.
at a recap.
That YouTube video would have been like 3 hours long.
Truly. Because like there's so much
There's so
to chew
much
on.
to chew on. I know.
It's so good.